In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly how I made 7 lakhs and 51,000 rupees in this one stock. What are the different factors that came into play? How did I do it over a span of just 5 days? And how did I time my entries and exits to perfection? Let's break all of that down in today's video. Now, it's important for us to start with the fact that this particular stock has an ability to continuously move in a parabolic manner. For this, I tend to go back to the old moves that a particular stock has made. So in the case of Wockhardt Pharma, we can see very clearly that around the June area of 2024, there was a very, very big move that came in the stock all the way from 590 rupees to somewhere around 980. That's a move of 65 odd percent in a matter of a very few days, right? Like probably 8 or 9 days over here. Now, what I want you to notice in this particular phase is that this stock had the ability to hit upper circuits and give those big, big bars that we are looking for. Even though it was in a 5% circuit range in this initial period of the breakout, once it was able to shift to the bigger range, automatically the volume also came in. This traded 500 crores on this particular day. So this stock always had that ability to move in a parabolic manner. This is not a linear mover. Even over here, we can see that this stock over here also moved pretty fast, right? A linear mover is a stock like Cupid, for example. This stock is not like that. 51% in 15 trading sessions. Even though here you were riding with the moving averages, usually the stock moves like this. Now, what are the different factors that I was looking for when it came to Wockhardt Pharma in particular, and why did I give this a priority, especially in a choppy-ish month like May? Like if we actually have a look at the month of May, we can see very clearly that this stock, if I just open up Wockhardt Pharma, right? During the time of the movement, the index was actually pretty, it was choppy. It was not in a very clear stage, right? Down, up, down, and then now has started moving towards the upside. But we can see clearly that in that period, Wockhardt Pharma actually was able to outperform the index significantly. Now, of course, there were a lot of trades in this phase that did not go as per plan and did not work, but Wockhardt Pharma easily made up for all of them. Now that takes me back to a quote that I heard by Stanley Druckenmiller, which is, "It does not matter whether you're right or wrong. It matters how much you make when you are right and how much you lose when you are wrong." And in that case, Wockhardt Pharma was able to clear everything and actually make me a lot more than what it should have in terms of the choppy market that we were facing and we have been facing for quite some time now. All right. Now, if I want to break down this particular trade, I need to take you guys all the way to the start. All right. So let's start with, I'm going to hide the drawings and let's start with this phase, right? May. Now, in this entire period, of course, we all know that the Indian markets were in a significant bear market, right? All the way from September of 2024. But Wockhardt Pharma in that same duration of time was going sideways and making a very nice base. But to be very frank, till this particular point of time, the stock will not come up in my radar because there is no reason for me to trade a stock which is, almost at all of its moving averages converging over here, and the 200 days above the 50-day stock is not even in stage 2. No momentum in the stock, very choppy moves coming in, so no reason to trade a stock like this at this particular point of time. But what happens as this earnings report comes in is something that I want you guys to notice. So you can see on earnings the stock gaps up 7% and goes actually to the highs of 12.5%, right? So a catalyst comes in with a massive volume of 2500 crores. So we can see very clearly that something happened in Wockhardt Pharma that caused it to gap up, which was its earnings report. And then what followed was a big move upwards, 11.7%. So automatically with this gap, this stock has moved 23%. What does this signify to me? That there is high interest in the stock, and there was a buying of 4,000 crores. Now 4,000 crores is always institutional buying. That's a massive number for one stock to trade in one particular day, right? So when I see this number, when I see that this stock is trading 230 crores on average, it's clear to me that this stock is it's a very liquid stock. It can potentially also be a liquid leader. So those are the things that I was looking for. Now another thing that I was looking for, right, before we go on with how things actually worked out, is whether this stock has the ability to give clean moves. And for that, again, I will analyze prior breakouts. Did the stock set up in the past? Yes. Did it move cleanly from that pivot point? Yes, it did, right? Let's see it over here as well. Did it move cleanly over here? Okay, over here the stop loss got hit and then the stock got a little bit choppy. All right, but this was a very, very big move in this particular market. And then our markets also did end up becoming very choppy in this September phase. So I wouldn't really blame Wockhardt Pharma over there. But what happened here? Another pivot setup, another clean move, right? So if a stock has the ability to set up in the past and move cleanly in the past, whether that's in a linear manner or a parabolic manner, that is a massive plus point for the stock in the future because the attitude of the stock is positive already. Now, secondly, what happened, right? When this big gap up came, automatically the stock started moving in the right direction. Now, next day, of course, you come down, right? Then you consolidate, then again, you're continuing to consolidate. But what's happening in this phase? The 50-day is coming above the 200-day moving average. Slowly, the 200-day is also starting to lean towards the upside. Now, that is signifying to me that the stock could potentially enter a stage two, right? In this period, a stage one, then an episodic pivot, which is a huge catalyst leading into a potential stage two or a potential post earnings, accumulation drift. So let's see what happens now. Okay, you come down to the 10-day. Till here, there was no setup in Wockhardt Pharma. All right, no issues, no issues. Now here is where I start to get interested. Undercut of the 10, reclaim of the 10, right? And a support from the 20-day moving average. So this green one is the 20, blue is the 10, red is the 50, and orange is the 200-day. So in this phase, now I'm getting interested. Rounding bottom type formation is happening. Another thing that was really interesting to me, right, was that if I went to the 1 month chart of Wockhardt Pharma, this was on the verge of a multi-year breakout, and this was 2013, so around 13 odd years of a big base, right? A nice move upwards. You've come down, break out of the flag from on the month of May. So things were looking very positive, even from a fractal point of view. That the fractal of the chart on a monthly time frame as well, not a weekly time frame, on a monthly time frame was very positive. So now let's see what happens. Okay, so I've marked the episodic pivot here. Stock comes above the 10. Next day, stock sort of fails. Not fails, I would say just reverses from this resistance, not fails. Another day down. Over here for me, the stock was ready. I was interested in buying this if it broke these highs. But then what happened? Again, another day down, no issues. You've come to the 10-day. This kind of pivot reminded me of Cochin Shipyard of 2025, which I traded as well. I bought it. I bought Cochin Shipyard early on. Then it went up. It came down 3 days. Volume. Look at the volume action. Okay, let's break this down as well. Same thing happened in Cochin Shipyard as well. Stock goes up on on higher volumes, and then in the last 3 days, when this volume is coming down, what is happening to the stock's volume? 201 days when the price is coming down. 201 crores. 121 crores, and then the last day was 79 crores, the lowest volume in this entire base over here, in this entire base, right from the gap up day, right? So from the gap up day, lowest volume in the entire base is exactly what I am looking for, because this to me signifies that supply has been completely exhausted in this stock and all of the weak hands have been removed and their shares have been accumulated. Now what happens after? Okay, breakout. So what I was buying at the high of this, it broke the high and then just closed right over there, right? So high of this was the entry point, this day low was the stop loss, and now let's see what happens. Next day, stock moves up 4%, no issues at all. So what do I see? The first day, of course, because this was executed towards the end of the day, like 2:30 p.m., something like that, because the stock moved only in the end. But even if I would have traded this on the next day, it would have been a valid entry point. However, the risk reward might have been a bit skewed. So I tend to not take any positions when the stop loss is more than 5%. So I would not have taken this trade. That's the reason for that is I took it the day before, right? Because that's still was viable for me with 4.25% of a stop loss. So next day stock moves up another 4%, right? So firstly, strong prior up move over here. My bad. I forgot to mention this. It's a mandatory criteria for me that I want to see a strong prior up move anywhere between 20 to 25% plus is what I like to see. So the stock moved 25%, 20, 23, 24% in my favor, plus an episodic pivot, came down clean and orderly manner, no haphazard way of coming down, then moved upwards, then came again down, got tight, volume completely dried up. Moved broke out on this day for me, next day moved up again. Even the next day buy, if I took it, would have been fine, and I didn't take it because of the risk reward that I particularly trade with. So stock entered stage 2. Stock is parabolic in nature. It is very clean. It has the ability to, come down. It's very liquid, right? We can see that very liquid stock. Apart from that, it has an episodic pivot. Another fascinating and very good thing, it is a multi-year breakout. The idea is that I'm stacking all of these probabilities in my favor. The moment I'm stacking these chips in my favor, my odds of winning become bigger and bigger. So I entered a 20% size on the 25th of May. Next day, stock went up another 4%, also hugging the 10-day. The pivot was also hugging the 10-day. So that is also very nice to see. And we know that the stock has the ability to move parabolically. Okay, let's see what happens then. Another 4% move. So on this day, my rule is that my stop loss was 4.25%. If my stock moves 2 hour in my favor, right, which 4.25 would be somewhere around 8.5%, right? So if the stock moves double of what my stop loss is, I bring it to break even. My stop loss comes to break even. So on this day, this stock became risk free for me. Okay, entered here, stock becomes risk free 3 days into the trade. Fantastic so far. Then big gap up. So on this day, if I go to the candle, you can see that the stock gapped up 8.7%, and that's exactly what I've written. There was an 8.7% gap up on this particular day, and the reason was that I think I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this because I don't really follow the news flow, but I think they got an approval for a drug from the US FDA, something like that, and that's why there was a big news because an Indian stock has not done this before. I think an Indian company, again, not sure, don't quote me on the news flow. You can look at my charts, but not on the news flow because I'm not too sure about that. But stock got some good news. That is the point. How did I know over here that this stock would get news here? I did not. And no one does, right? The idea is that the chart never lies. Clean chart, episodic pivot, gap up on earnings, catalyst, all of the factors that I mentioned before, liquid name, gaps up 8%, stock trades 2,600 crores on this particular day, moves 14.7% in my favor. Now, what I did was, because the stock became parabolic on this day, right? From my entry point, stock was up on opening 17% in a matter of 4 days. I booked 1/3 of my position the moment the gap up sort of broke down. So the stock gapped up. I can open the 5-minute chart right here. So let's go back to bars. Okay, stock gapped up, moved upwards, right? The moment that this low got broken, I sold 1/3 of my quantity. Reason being, I had a big size in the stock. Markets were still very choppy. I wanted to protect my gains, sold 1/3, and then I was satisfied saying that I will trail it with yesterday's high or something in the middle that makes me a bit more comfortable. I don't exactly remember. But then you can see, even in the 5-minute chart, this stock sets up very well and then starts to move forwards again. So let's get to the 1-day chart, and now let's break it down further. So let's see what happens after this. Next day, fascinatingly, this stock gaps up 17%. Yes, I remember my reaction. I was right on my bed over here. When I saw the stock gap up 17%, I was shocked. 17.01% was the gap up in Walkout Pharma. And that to me was fascinating, right? I have not seen that big of a gap up in a holding. I've seen a stock like Gabriel gap up 20% on some news, but I've not seen a gap up of this caliber in my holding before. So this was fantastic to me. And this is exactly the power of swing trading, right? That we get entry points which are low risk. What was my risk here? 4.2%. And what was the reward? Assuming that I sold at the highest point and held for my entire position, 47%. That is a massive risk reward. That's more than 1 is to 10, maybe 1 is to 12, 1 is to 13 as well, right? The idea over here is what I'm trying to explain to you, that when you focus on the basics, you focus on a few factors that truly matter, things line up. And here is where I took my full exit. So when the stock gapped up 17%, you can see after that it moved upwards as well. It moved upwards 2%. Then when it came back down and broke the gap high, I sold half. I sold enough so that I would only have half of my original size, which would be 10%. Then I sold some more and some more as the stock continued to fall down. In average, I booked around, I think, 32% in this particular stock of Wockhardt Pharma. So it was a fantastic trade for me, right? Absolutely amazing trade. Now, another thing that I want to focus on is that when the stock makes a move of 47% and the volumes are like 2,500 crores and the stock then comes down so much, there's no reason to be greedy over here, right? There's no reason to say that I'm going to trail it with the 10-day because stock has already gone parabolic, huge volumes have come in, and there's a big squat. If this closing was better, then I would have continued to hold the stock because you never know. I've seen stocks like IREDA go 100% in a matter of 12, 13 days, right? So that's not an issue. But the squat was an issue for me. So I got out of this stock. And then what happens? Stock comes down, tries to move upwards, but then just goes into its rut and now is very, very sideways. So that is exactly how I traded Wockhardt Pharma, the factors I looked at, what exactly I was trying to get out of the trade, and how I made 7 lakhs 51,000 rupees in a matter of 5 days in this stock. Don't focus on the amount, focus on the learnings, because this could have been so much more, right? This could have been so much more in terms of extraction out of the trade, right? Just because the idea is that over here, if the stock goes up 47%, how can I extract maybe a 5% more out of 32% that I've booked? So the idea from this trade for me is to get better and also document it so that I can have a look at it later on. And apart from that, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Another trade breakdown will come, which is Cupid, because those are the two winning trades that I've had so far this financial year and the first quarter. Markets have been quite choppy overall, so it's not been the best market environment, but I will break that trade down as well. Please comment, please subscribe. I'm trying to get more active on YouTube to get you such amazing breakdowns. Let me know if you like this, if this was helpful, and what you all would like to see more of. And yeah, with that thought and with that notion, I will leave you guys and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Take care and see you guys in the next one. Thank you.